September 11th, 2001, may we never forget the tragedy and loss of life on that historic day in United States history, and may we extend a hand of understanding around the world so it will never happen again. This is why we remember that day. We asked our Burbridge staff what they remember about that historic day and how it impacted them.
Hi, I'm Ms. Thompson. I just wanted to share my experience with 9/11. When 9/11 happened, I was actually at Cypress Elementary as a teacher, and I was standing in the media center because we were having a meeting, and I was talking to my assistant principal when someone told us what was happening. So we went in our rooms and we watched it on TV. No kids were there yet. But then by the time kids came, we were there to just console them and to let them know that everything was going to be okay. But we were definitely, trying to watch and see this crazy experience that's happening that changed our world. But yeah, I was a teacher. I was a 5th grade teacher, and I ran my class that day. And we now learn about it and learn from our, not even mistakes, learn from our history and what happened and how we are better now.
Hello everyone, I'm Alex Stone, one of the assistant principals at Burbridge. On September 11th, I was actually in 11th grade in Long Beach, New York. My mom worked on the 16th floor of the trade towers. And so that day I remember getting called out of my social studies class to get sent down to the front office. And on the way there, I saw my cousin who was saying, "Hey, crazy things are happening." And then I walked into the front office and saw my mom, and she said, "I want you to know that I'm okay, but there's something happening." And my high school actually overlooked the water. We could see the giant cloud of smoke that would cover the trade towers that day. So it's important to always remember those people that gave their lives for those for the service of America, because we can't forget what they did for us and what it means to be American.
Hi, I'm Missioni. I work in the middle school main office. What I remember most about September 11th and the tragic day was I was in 4th grade actually. I think I was about 9 or 10 years old. I just remember another teacher called my teacher to tell her what was going on. So she set up her old school TV on her little rolly. Basically it just carried the TV, and she put it on the news so we could see what was going on as well. And when she realized how upsetting and how tragic and all of just the intensity of what was actually happening that day, she turned the TV off, and then next thing we knew, half of our class was getting called out to go home because their families were so concerned and so worried. And I remember that my cousins, lived in New York, so we were all scared of what was going on and who was affected, and our family members that worked in the city and not being able to get in touch with them, and just how much of an impact that historical moment has made on our life and still affects us today.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Osben, and I wanted to give you some of my memories of 9/11. I was working at Bayonet Point Middle School at the time, and I was teaching American history, and we were actually talking about preparing to take a trip to Washington, D.C. One of the kids was asking, "Hey, when are we going to D.C.? Are you setting out the paperwork?" And someone ran into the room and said, "Turn on the television." And we watched all day long, which was probably not really the best thing to do, but we were just also shocked of what was happening. And later that day I did find out I had relatives that were having breakfast in the towers. They were able to get out and survive. I have a nephew-in-law who was a fireman for the New York Fire Department who gave his life as a hero for 9/11. And it's just something that it's one of those days in your life you will always remember exactly what you were doing and when you were doing it.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Baumeister, and I'm the Learning Design Coach here at Burbridge Middle. I was teaching kindergarten at Chasco Elementary, and we had just gotten out of a morning meeting when we heard the news, and we all kind of rushed around to the TV before the students came into school. The one thing I do remember feeling and still feel to this day is how the country and the community came together to really show our support of each other in that horrible time. And being a member of a law enforcement family, And then also having my neighbor, whose husband died in 9/11 as a firefighter. It's really important and special that we celebrate our law enforcement and our first responders on this day.
Greetings, I'm Mrs. Waringa, and I teach language arts here at River Ridge, 7th grade. But on the date of 9/11 years ago, I was teaching seniors in a small school that had kindergarten through 12th. And I remember when the principal called us and notified us, we turned on the TV at that point, and with horror, we saw these buildings fall and be destroyed. At the moment, we had no idea what was happening in our country, but we knew that this was happening here on our land. We've been saved from war so often because it's taken place in other places except for our Revolutionary War, a Civil War. And so this was hitting home. We gathered a little bit later in the auditorium for a time of meditation, prayer, thoughts. And it was then that it struck me that we were to also gather together as a nation. And we were filled with fear. What was happening? Who was attacking us? What was the outcome? But the main thing that I remember is sitting later that day with my 3 sons on the sofa and just saying, how can we help? And so with prayer and with thoughts and phone calls and encouragement, we came together as a nation and got through that as we supported the officers and the people who served. I think that is important to remember. We as a world came together. We as a country came together.
Hi, I'm Nicole Burbridge. I'm an art teacher here at River Ridge. And 9/11 is important to me, and it's important that we remember because I was actually in college. It was my first year of college, and I was in a communications class. And they sent us home because they didn't know what was going on. And when we found out, it was just really sad. And I had friends that were father was a police officer at the time, and he was down there helping out. And we had a community member, husband pass away he was a firefighter, and me and my best friend, we actually made ribbons and sold them and raised money for his wife because they had 4 children. So it's very important because it touched every single person in every community. Even if you didn't know anybody that was in the city at the time, you still knew. And I was in New York at the time, so it was very sad and important that we remember.
September 11th is Patriot Day and a national day of service and remembrance. On this day, Americans across the country are called to volunteer in their local communities in tribute to the individuals lost and injured in the attacks, first responders, and the many who have risen in service to defend our freedom. So how will you show the importance of this day, and how will you remember the sacrifices made by the people affected by 9/11? What will you do to support and serve your community, Royal Knights?